Hey everyone, welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. We're discussing Survivor San Juan del Sur, Blood vs. Water, episode 3 this week. This week felt more like a tears versus yelling season, though, to me. Andy, I know you love a good cry session. What did you think about this episode?
Yeah. I mean, the thing we're going to spend most of our time talking about was, it's great. John Rocker's gone, yay, but I'm not sure I'm in on this season just yet.
I don't know if you'll ever get there. I mean,
I'm not sure either, I'm maintaining positivity. I'm not hating it. So that's a bar it's climbed, but we're going to need some more. We're going to need some more than what we're getting.
This already feels like a lower tier season. I'm not grouping it in the, it's obviously way too early anyway, but it's not down in that, Nicaragua, South Pacific tier, but it's not that far above.
Yeah, I'm not, the hour goes by just fine.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to be a little more patient in that not everything gets to start right away. Not everything is Kagiyan, right? Players like David Sampson and, Bryce and everybody are getting taken out early, and Tony's doing crazy spy shack building right away. That's typically seasons can start slow. So I'm not writing it off yet, but there's a lot of warning signs.
Right. And if you're looking for an inspiration, maybe it's Karamoan. Maybe it's, it's not going to get remotely interesting until after the merge. Who knows? We'll see.
But on the positives, as I alluded to, John Rocker is gone.
Sure.
I am 2-0 in my predictions, so that's always a great thing.
Good for you. But let's start at the start of the episode here, because we, of course, have to get to Jeff's typical, how does that make you feel question. I love that at the start of every episode, at least pre-merge, probably even post-merge, we're getting the how does that make you feel question. Just mining for tears, this man. So he asks Jeremy, how you feeling? Val's gone, blah, blah, blah. And he's really digging for the tears from Jeremy. And so he says something along the lines of, this is your blood we're talking about, your wife. So I'm pretty sure that Probst just totally doesn't understand the whole thing that happens when you marry someone.
That's right. In some states, they actually do tests to make sure it's not your blood, right?
Yeah. He and Rupert both confused on the concept.
That's tough. I mean, it's Probst, and you just kind of roll your eyes. I'll say the emotional aspects, the drawing out of tears while, seemingly desperate in this scenario, it doesn't bother me as much that the players are emotional. I know it really bothers a lot of people, maybe you. I'm okay that people struggle with the emotional aspect of it, as long as they are also bringing other aspects.
Right.
And you know what? To his credit, Jeremy is. And maybe that's why he responded as strongly as he did, because he wasn't going to be all my wife. He instead turned that into maybe a more productive emotion of anger. Just righteous anger about John Rocker.
More productive emotion, anger, and John Rocker in the same sentence. Good job. Well, Wes and Keith gave him the tears that he wanted, though.
Oh, it's bring me your tears. They feed me. I need them for my anti-aging cream.
I had this idea as I was watching the episode. I was like, what if we just start a timer each week and see how long it takes us to get to tears? Let's see which episode gets there fastest this season.
And I would say I would be willing to wager that this is not normal behavior for these two men.
Nope.
And I think that just does speak to the fact that this is hard. It's not so much the competing against each other in carnival games aspect, but being on an island in a competitive environment away from home. It's hard. It strips you down. People always wonder why, why do people cry to loved ones episodes? It's because they're being kind of mentally tortured to a degree. And
right, they can't trust anybody.
Yeah. And that's why. And it's so at least these people every few days get some level of interaction, but even that interaction itself is wrought. Because as much as you'd like to think of your loved one as, this security blanket, this comfort, you can't do that because you've got, 6 to 9 other people looking at you like,
Well, and let's not forget, it's not like they're sleeping or eating well either. So, emotions might be running a little higher because of that, too.
So I'm okay with it, even though, I am not an emotional person. I understand. Again, I study the sociology of it. Show me how humans act. Show.
Yes, you do. Oh, if only I had Robot Andy voice for that one.
I'm sure you will at some point.
I will. I do like Keith so far, but I do want to point out, as a fellow Southerner, not all of us whoop our kids.
Yes.
I like that Keith gets the confessional. He's like, we do things differently in the South. We still whoop our kids. Well, not all of us, buddy. And plus, isn't Wes like 23, 24?
Yeah.
Is he suggesting that he's going to spank him at the challenge?
I kind of feel that Wes has probably outgrown that punishment. Yeah, I know. I heard that too. It's like, darn it, Survivor. I just had to get over this with football.
Yeah.
But other than that, and then there's other elements that we're going to talk about in a bit. I also like Keith. I think he's proven to be a very good casting find. Like, that guy is a soundbite machine.
Yes, and that's the thing, is he might not end up being a great player. He certainly hasn't exhibited strong signs of it yet, but he's at least entertaining, and that's all I ask. If you're going to be a crappy player, be entertaining.
Yeah, be a character, and maybe not a terrible character. Because I guess there's some people we haven't liked that were certainly characters.
Yes. Don't be a Philip type character. Just be entertaining. Be the Big Tom. Be the... I'm trying to think of other people that, and will never ever win, but we like them.
But
Penner.
honestly, yeah.
Be Penner.
Big Tom is probably the best comp. That's why you can't move off of that one.
Yeah.
So Jeremy's very angry at Rocker. And Rocker, of course, handles this about as smoothly as you would expect.
Oh, how amazing was this that Rocker just, in front of every single player in the game, says, man, I really tried to follow through with our secret plans, essentially. Like, you're publicly proclaiming that you're working with someone on the other tribe, and this is the first time your allies are hearing about it.
What's worse is that prior to getting to the Heroes Arena, he says, with all disdain dripping from his voice, he gave an interview where it's like, well, I can't let them know that, I can't let my alliance know that I was planning this other thing. And then he just does it. But does he think that they just can't hear him? Is that the thing? I don't understand. And what's interesting is he gets fallout from this throughout this other episode. Nobody on Jeremy's tribe seems all that upset with the fact that he made a secret deal with John Rocker.
Well, it's possible that they are, but we don't ever get to see them because they keep winning.
That's right. We're not getting that dynamic.
Right.
But yeah, just brilliant stuff by John Rocker. Last week, just in message boards, I believe our friend Michelle was like, well, he should let him know. And I'm like, what? And let his tribe know that he was going to betray them? Oh, that's exactly what he did. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Bravo.
So apparently he was all in on her plan. He's like, hey, great idea.
Yeah, and it's important to talk about this because this was why he was voted out.
Yeah, I know a lot of the comments today have been like, oh, that sucks, or not. Some people were happy about it, but people were saying, oh, he's getting voted out because of who he was outside the game, and it was a long time ago, blah, blah, blah.
Because of something another tribe was doing and all that. It's like, no, no.
Right. Nope.
He proved himself to be untrustworthy unless you get eliminated. That's
right.
Survivor, baby.
By his own admission, Josh was his closest ally. He never told Josh about this secret little side deal he had going on there. Yeah. So maybe that makes you a little suspicious when you find out that your closest ally has a little side deal going on with someone else and you didn't know about it.
Like a side deal that he was clearly trying to do something about, because Josh was already up on that, right? Why are these two people sneaking off together? Why is Rocker doing this? Maybe I should flip my vote, which Josh did, and it kind of saved them in that respect. But, yeah. You play with fire, you get burned, John Rocker. It's not a big deal.
We'll get to the Josh thing later, because there's a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, at the challenge, we're skipping all around the episode here. At the challenge, we got the Natalie versus John Rocker thing. We got a couple thoughts on this. First of all, the scene that we get before they even get to that is like the world's worst game of telephone. Because it's basically Jeremy giving his tribe information about Rocker, but he doesn't really remember exactly what Rocker said, just that it was racist and, as he put it, homosexual.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously that was just a... I can't remember the word when you mispronounce something, but that's not
exactly.
what it is.
But his tribe, and at least Natalie, I'm assuming the rest of the tribe too, just takes it as gospel, and just Natalie bursts out with the like awkwardly worded reference to Rocker's past in the challenge, but this gets me thinking as I'm watching it, like, oh my God, how amazing would it be to be on Survivor and just convince everyone on your tribe that someone you wanted voted out was some awful person that CBS was trying to sneak onto the show? Like, why can't you just say, hey, you see that guy over there? That's the former president of Penn State, and he helped cover up child sexual abuse. Like, no one's going to know what that guy looks like. You just be like, oh my God, that guy's terrible. I can't believe they put him out here. And then get everybody on your tribe behind you. Yeah, we got to get rid of that guy.
Boom, we're going to strike a blow for mankind.
Yeah, because production and probes, presumably, they can't intervene to tell everyone that you're lying, right?
Yeah.
Plus, they probably can't really air it because it would be slander or libel. I forget which one. Come on, lawyers, tell me which one it was. Anyway.
Libel is print, right? Yeah.
You slander someone and then the crime is libel? I'm not even going to try, because seriously, we're going to get our
We're going to get
buddies.
emails already, though.
Yep. Yeah, it's already happening. They're typing right now like, oh, yes, that law degree is finally coming in handy. Anyway, point number 2 about this whole thing. When Rocker suggests that he'd like to knock Natalie out, I loved that Natalie didn't back down or act all offended or, like, look to her tribe mates like, what the hell is this? Back me up. She just gives him the, come at me, bro. What's up? Yeah. I loved it. Almost like the Johnny Fairplay intentionally baiting thing. Remember when Fairplay, I'm covering this for the audience because of course you do, but Fairplay back in Pearl Islands intentionally baited Rupert, trying to get Rupert to punch him. Almost wonder if Natalie was trying to get Rocker to act physical, although he wasn't going to step over the line, I don't think.
No, and there was literally like a challenge apparatus in between them.
Yes.
I think that's just Natalie. From what I've gathered of her, she runs a little hot. And I think she's become the attack dog of her alliance, right? She was doing that earlier with Drew. And now. And I think that'll actually help her. I think that shows, as long as she can stay within her alliance, obviously things like swaps or mergers could actually hurt her a lot. But if she can stay in the in a majority within her alliance, then it's like, yeah, that's my girl. She's clearly on our team.
Yeah, and then not only that, it sort of sets her up later as, she might be rubbing some people the wrong way.
Yep.
So if you're the leader of that alliance, you're maybe thinking like, you know what? Maybe I keep Natalie around a little longer. Mm-hmm. As the more appealing option, she's loyal. She's your attack dog. She's rubbed people the wrong way. She might not get votes.
And then she'll win like Sandra.
Could be.
Let's talk about that scene a bit more, because I have thoughts.
Okay.
First off, I think a lot of people are like, oh, Natalie, that wasn't very good sportsmanship either. Trademark Judd.
Bunch of scumbags.
Yeah, to a degree, sure. But to another degree, why should she back down? For one, it's a ploy. It's a ploy to try and get the other tribe to do what you want. And for two, John Rocker said those things. He does those things. For her, it's third-hand knowledge or whatever. But why is it up to Jeremy and Natalie to just be the better people about this? Like, this is what Survivor brought on themselves. And you see it in the episode. Obviously, you can never fully trust reactions or whatever, but right. The way Jeff sends them out after is kind of like, all right, well, here's your idol, go away. Like, he kind of was like, well, that was awkward. It was kind of ugly. I wish I wasn't there. And I think there was something about that in his EW interview that I never read. And for me, tough, Jeff. This is what you wanted. You don't get to act like, oh man, that was unseemly. You cast John Rocker. This is on you.
Well, there are other people in casting. It's not necessarily just him. But yes, as the public face, the executive producer, then yes, to a degree at least, it's on him.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is on the show, and yes, as representative of the show, as management, you don't get to be like, I wish that didn't happen. No, this is what you wanted to happen. And I'm sorry that the minorities decided to be a little aggressive, because they didn't want to work with a guy who seems to think little of them, but that's what happens. And it's not like, he was completely innocent. With some people like, John Rocker wasn't even that bad. Sure, he wasn't giving the 7 Train interview in Survivor, but he was threatening physical violence against a woman. Like, there was a lot of give and take. Now, I don't want to see that either. That's not what I watched Survivor for. But I'm not putting the fault on Natalie and Jeremy. I'm putting the fault on Survivor. This is why I stopped casting these people. It's not successful. Every time that they think that they've cast some kind of lightning rod, and you do have a kind of a conspiracy theory that I'm going to let you get to that. But the game, more often than not, will correct itself and boot them early, and the show doesn't get much out of them. So stop it. Stop it. You lead to television that your own host isn't even comfortable with, and you don't even get much payoff for it. You got to promote John Rocker all over the place, and he's gone.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a conspiracy theory that I have. I should clarify to everybody. If I sound very weird, it's because I have a cold right now. This is not my conspiracy theory. It's just, I think it's the most logical explanation. They're trying to get, and Rocker is probably the worst example of it, but they're trying to get a recognizable face, someone that's not going to win anyway, but someone that in the first few episodes they can focus on. It's someone you know, especially when you have the all new people or mostly all new people seasons. They're trying to give you some kind of familiar face. If it happens to be a lightning rod type, like Brandon or Rocker or someone like that, then you get a couple episodes out of that person, so you have a narrative for the first few episodes of the season. Because I imagine, as an editor, it's hard to do the pre-merge episodes, especially the earliest episodes, because you've got to get in a story about people that are going home, and they'll give you some quick, good, well, quote-unquote, good TV, and then they're gone. I think that's why they're cast.
Yeah, and look, that's maybe some... I mean, absolutely they do some level of stunt casting to give some kind of draw-in for the more casual fan. And look, 28 seasons in, I'm not going to say they don't need it. But when you bring back Colton, when you cast John Rocker, when you do types like that, where's the payoff? We're Survivor nuts. We're 3 episodes into this season, and we have very little to care about because somebody like John Rocker was sucking out a lot of the oxygen. And for what? He didn't matter. He was an early boot.
Well, I don't even know that we're totally typical either, because there's a lot of people that were probably watching and were really excited that Rocker got voted out, and that's going to make it worth it for them that he was on this season. So,
but if that's the thing, then are they tuning in next week? Like, they saw what they wanted to see. And really, they didn't even get really what they wanted to see. It wasn't, like, he didn't flame out in spectacular fashion. I mean, no, he lost in fairly spectacular fashion with an idol in his pocket. But even there, I'm going to give him a bit of pass on that one. If you need to play the idol, like, in week 3...
You're not going far.
Yeah, you're not doing very well in the game anyway. Like, I don't know if anybody plays the idol that soon, unless you're like Christine or Redemption Island and you just know you're on the bottom.
Right.
Which is why they had to vote him out this week. It's pretty much one of the easiest times to blindside somebody this early.
So, let's talk about the Rocker vote out, because you asked me if I thought it was the right move. And so I had this wild theory. I decided to do some research. And my wild theory here is that maybe voting out your quote-unquote strongest person isn't such a bad idea. So I go and I look it up. So here's what I came up with. I'll start with my weak examples. In Caramoan, the fans voted out 3 women and then Shamar, and it still never helped them win a challenge. That's probably just more because they were the fans.
Yeah, and I'd say that's neutral. Like, the two women might have been more athletic than a couple of the women they didn't vote out, but they weren't star athletes or anything. And Shamar was a net zero in every way.
Yeah, he was at least the quote-unquote strength.
He was but he wasn't using it, so
no.
It doesn't really help.
All right, So now Fiji, they got rid of the weakest every time, and they still couldn't win a challenge. But again, that's probably a weak example because, they were totally dehydrated.
Yes.
So, okay, like I said, I'm starting off with weak examples, but it's going to get better here. Cagayan, last season, after the tribe swap, they vote out Cliff first. If he's not their strongest member, he's probably number 2. I mean, it depends how strong you think Tony is. Either way, a 6'9", 6'10" guy is pretty strong. Mm-hmm. And unless he's Mitchell from Survivor Australia. And then his tribe wins the next 3 immunities in a row. And I know before people start writing in, you can make the counterpoint that the Brains voted out Garrett and then they lost again. But they only lost once after they voted out Garrett. So I'm going to call Cagayan a decent support for this theory. Mm-hmm. So Philippines, they voted out the 3 weakest members of their tribe, and it didn't help them in challenges in any way. Malcolm and Denise just ended up getting absorbed into the other tribes. Nicaragua, they sent Shannon home first from the Young People tribe, and then they won 3 straight challenges. Mm-hmm. And then next to last, but of course not least, is Samoa. Russell's tribe got the weak challenge people gone 4 straight times, and they still went into the merge down 8-4. I think part of that, though, is because Russell really didn't care.
Yeah.
So then, of course, the bright, shining example is Palau, where they kept trying to vote out the quote-unquote weakest people, and it just never, ever, ever helped them.
Well, here's another one. How about heroes versus villains? The heroes were mostly on let's vote out the weaker people that don't hang out with us in Survivor clubs type thing, right? In fact, they were dragging along James when he was injured, right? It's like, oh, Stephanie's weak. Suri. And that didn't help them at all.
No, and that was one I left off the list, though, just because in the all returnee seasons, there's just too much that's not, you know, it goes into the voting. It's not just this is the weakest person.
But then what about One World? So I know, like, the dorky guys started voting out, like they voted off Matt Quinlan first.
Yes, Matt goes home first, but then it gets a little screwed up here because the guys win and they actually
win and
intentionally,
go to the tribal, yeah.
Yeah, they intentionally forfeited their win. So maybe I didn't want to include that just because it's hit or miss. Whether
I think to your point is there's been a knee-jerk reaction out there to this. It's like, oh, they're going to keep losing because they voted out their strongest guy. And I think you've come up with enough examples to not necessarily say that, you know, it's perfectly good or perfectly fine or preferable to vote out your strong, but that it might not matter. You know, like survivor strength and what leads to success and challenges is a many varied thing. And I would say it's also a very evolving thing in that I believe strength is probably less useful now than it was before.
Yeah, if you have a challenge coming up that's one of those where they strap the weights onto you and that you have to stand on the post or whatever it is while holding weights on your back, or when you have to hold the weights in the water and chase down the other team, yeah, Rocker's going to help you in that.
Yeah, they're going to regret.
But if it's not that, I mean, if it's something like climb through the obstacle course, blah, 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 is his physical strength that much more important than Wes or Alec or somebody like that?
Yeah, and like the easy counter to everybody is like, well, that strength is doing a bang-up job so far. Like they're
exactly.
They're 0-3, and then if you wanted to put in reward challenges, the only one that he factored in, 0-4, right? The other ones you can't really put on him or not put on him. And here's the thing, like, the only time he's really looked impressive was that first challenge.
Very first challenge, yeah.
Yeah. For one, everybody's at full strength at that point. But also, one of the things, you know, so he was very strong. He was able to lift Baylor up, and she did on all the untying while the other tribe lifted up 3 different women with 3 different men. Well, the other half of that is Baylor being very light. Like, our friend Matt has been pointing this out a lot lately, is that sometimes having a younger, smaller woman is actually advantageous in some challenges, you know? You can win that challenge with Parvati and Eliza just hanging off of one post and walking them over. Now, obviously, you need the super strength of James to also help that.
Sure.
But having smaller people can be an asset. Maybe Baylor's going to be better at puzzles. Because here's the thing. As impressive as John looked in that challenge, they lost that challenge, right? At the end, they got down to a puzzle, and it didn't matter. Has anything that he's demonstrated suggests to you that he'd be good at puzzles?
Nope.
Other than his puzzled look at frequent things. They're 0-3. I don't want to hear about, oh no, they're going to lose because they lost their strength. He's not helping. You know what does help? Unity. And he was not a unified player. He obviously is already running out on other agendas, which, you know, Jeremy kind of thrust on him, but whatever. If he was better at the game, he would have been able to manage that scenario. Before any of this even happened, before, you know, Natalie and Jeremy and everybody's yelling at them to vote out John Rocker, before Josh is starting to worry about his secret side deals, you already had Alec and Wes talking in the shelter like, hey, what should we do about John? Like, he wasn't a part of the core group, and he'd proven himself unworthy, so, you know, kick him out and see what happens. They have enough strength. At a certain point, guys that can lift things that are heavy becomes redundant.
Right. There's not going to be a challenge where you need 4 guys to lift heavy things. Generally.
Typically, no. In fact, usually it'd be 3. And here's the other thing. It's like, and they've already done the, you know, mono strength challenge. They're not going to do another one. 1, he lost that one.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, if you have fewer men, then they don't get to play their men. It's not like they're going to, like, suddenly put, you know, other John against Baylor, you know?
Right.
So that's another advantage that sometimes people don't look at. It's like if you end up having more women, then typically they will find a way to balance a challenge so that the women have to go against women. But ultimately, was it the right move to vote out Rocker? Sure, he wasn't playing ball the proper way, so you vote him out. And more importantly, he had an idol. So if you decide, no, we can't do it right now, we need him for another challenge, then what you're deciding is John Rocker is part of my core alliance through the game. Because if you don't do it tonight, you're not going to get a chance to do it.
At least not be, and the swap could come at any time. Merge is certainly further down the road, but again, he's got an idol. And if you want to try to take him out before the merge, and he starts to suspect it, then he's going to make the merge.
Yeah, and you might not, because he played his idol.
Right.
One last thing. So, yeah, you and I are both in agreement that he basically sealed his fate when he blurted out the stuff to Jeremy.
Yeah.
Do you think the stuff that the Blue Tribe was doing had any effect at all?
No. Because why do they necessarily care what the Blue Tribe thinks?
I'd say typically, normally you wouldn't, right? In fact, that might strengthen your resolve. If my opponent wants this thing to happen,
I know what you're going to say is that, so it's the family members on the other side. I still don't think it matters.
I think it was probably like 90% that he was giving Josh the heebie-jeebies about, the way he acted with Jeremy thing, about having an idol, all of that sort of thing. I think maybe a little more that Josh wanted the alliance with Baylor more than he wanted the alliance with John. But I would say that the stuff that they revealed out his past might have helped tip the scale, in that Rocker already has all of this risk, and he's not even a good person. Like, maybe if it's like, but I like him, so I don't care what they're saying, or I'll find a way to trust him, or the Jeremy thing, I'll get to know him a bit more. So I think it might have mattered like 1%.
But again, I don't think it really matters. That wasn't the
reason. The reason is simple. They found out he was lying, and he was a threat because he had an idol.
So let's talk Baylor. Let's move on from Rocker.
Forever. Actually, we'll have one more question, Rocker related, and then we're done. Probably with our whole lives with John Rocker.
Probably.
Which I thought was true 15 years ago.
Yeah, me too. Especially when I stopped watching baseball. So is Baylor in a good spot now? Do you think she's aligned herself well and she's going to stick around?
Well, she's certainly in a better spot than what she was at the beginning of the episode, where it seemed like she was the next vote. But I'm not sure, really. I mean, I think if they lose again, they have to have the same discussion, right? If they lose again, then it's kind of like, then maybe you have to go back to the well of let's find people that can help us win one. The challenge she has is that she still seems only attached to Josh, who says a lot of things, and through his actions of keeping her over John Rocker, shows that he is interested in having things with her, but he also seems to be very comfortable at looking at Baylor's name on a parchment a lot.
Well, and we'll mention that too, but to give her a little credit, I think she's got Jacqueline too. And it may be just a thing of convenience where Jacqueline's like, well, I got no other choices. But I think she's in good with Josh, and then, Jacqueline's going to hang on to her. So.
Right. But if, they came to Jacqueline and it's like, all right, we're voting out Baylor tonight, she'd be like, fine. I don't think she'd be like holding out like she did with Val.
Right. So you mentioned being targeted 3 times. So I did some quick digging on this. I wasn't quite thorough on this, but it seems like generally most people don't last past 3 times being targeted. If you've gotten votes on you, 3 different tribal councils, usually the next time you get votes, you're gone. That's about it. So here's some exceptions I found because you'll like this. And again, I wasn't super thorough, so if you have some from earlier seasons, please let me know. But Sierra caught a vote in 5 different tribals before she was sent home the 6th time. But the all-time king, at least as far as I could tell, was Philip, who caught votes in 7 different tribal councils at Redemption Island. Still came in 2nd. So I think this proves that there's 2 ways for Baylor to go now. You can either go crazy, haphazard strategist like Sierra, or just plain crazy like Philip. Those are your 2 models you can follow.
Those are the successful ones. I imagine the third person to catch a lot of votes. I don't know if it's as many tribal councils, but until Philip came along, Jonathan Penner had the record for most votes cast against him. But presumably that also includes the ones that finally sent him home in Cook Islands.
Yes.
So, see somebody that also was voted for early and often. Yeah, I mean, maybe she is the next Sierra. I don't know. And look, she she did a much better job tonight than she has in the past 2 nights. I'll give her that.
It was a low bar, though.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the same thing I was saying in Blood vs. Water, the first one, about the new people. They're new! Like, it does take some time to get used to this. And the other credit I'll say to these new people is, it's also a new format, right? I mean, it's not completely new. We've had a Blood vs. Water, but that was also All-Stars versus Not. But then there's all this, Heroes Arena, Exile, and so, they're also learning on the job. But, yeah, I mean, at least this time she was like, it's been 2 tribal councils where I've almost gone home. I'm gonna try and do something about it, darn it.
Yeah. So that's why I'll give both her and Josh some slack. They're making mistakes, but there's actually been some fairly decent winners who made some relatively early mistakes, and they recovered well.
Let's skip ahead to Josh, because that makes sense right now.
Okay, sure. Let's transition to Josh then.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a regular segment on this show. Is he good at Survivor or not?
Oh, man. I think he thinks he's good.
He certainly talks a good game. Goodish.
Well...
He talks.
He talks. I don't know about a good game. He talks a game. Was it weird to you to learn in this week's episode that he had to change his vote basically right at Tribal Council last time? Because don't you think if you're a good strategist, you think of that earlier?
Yes. I mean, let's give him credit. He thought of it.
Yes,
so at least he
exactly.
got there, right?
Right.
And I think that's the scale we're working on. Yes, if he was as good as some people are trying to make him to be because they are thirsty for somebody to be good, and I'm not sure there is yet. He would have figured out 2 things. One, you need to make sure the votes are more than the ones that Val and Jacqueline can also cast. 2, don't worry about 2 effing idols. It's a goddamn lie. You don't have to worry about any of this.
Yeah, and I guess I would call him a slight improvement this week. But again, it's sort of the Baylor thing. We're working from a pretty low bar, because this is the guy that inexplicably changes his vote in the very first Tribal Council, throwing a vote to Baylor for reasons that were never entirely clear even after he explained it. So, yes, good move to flip on Rocker. I'll give him credit for that, because if you can't trust the guy, he's of no use to you anyway. But, I don't know, it feels like one of those things where he thinks he's a better player than he is, and some people who we've seen commenting about the show seem to think he's a better player than he is, at least at this stage.
Mm-hmm. So here's my take on Josh. I think he actually is very good at Survivor, just not in the ways that people are giving him credit for. I think as a strategist, he's been so far all over the map. He's landed a couple good decisions. He's also made some bad decisions. He made decisions he just didn't even need to make, especially with that Baylor vote. Thing is, strategy is not the most important part of Survivor.
Right.
Social game is. And in that sense, he has been doing fantastic. Just to repeat his mistakes. His first 2 tribal councils, he went against what he was telling his alliance. And he suffered no backlash. I mean, maybe a little bit from Baylor, but still, I mean, she's only working with him. That speaks to a highly skilled social player. Everybody loves him.
Right, and so that's what he has going in his favor.
Yeah, and that's maybe all you need. Like, that is the most important part of Survivor. So is he being good at Survivor? Yes. Because he's everybody's partner. Even Sean Rocker is like, my number 1 ally is a gay guy, so obviously I can't be homophobic. Just like many of my best friends are black. He won over Keith, within a short period of time. It's not even on his tribe. So if he can keep that up, he's going to win this season. So yes, I think he is playing Survivor really well. I just don't think he's playing strategically as strong as he thinks or other people think.
So yeah, and you mentioned it, that's the most important skill. The thing is, strategy can take you out.
Yeah, that's the thing. If he keeps messing around, he could get himself into trouble he doesn't need to. The fallback, though, is he's so strong. He's got such strong social bonds that he can overcome these mistakes early.
Do you wonder, and I'm just pulling this out of my butt right now, do you think that he's maybe going to have the issue that Dawn has, where he forms bonds that are a little too close and people get a little more hurt when he does have to flip on them?
It's certainly something to watch for, and as the season goes on, we should start to try to get a sense of how emotional his bonds are with people. In this sense, he might be in a better place that he is forming his closer social bonds with male players, and that they might not take it as personally when he votes them out.
Look at you with your stereotypical women are more emotional, Andy.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I finished saying it, it's like, wow, that was kind of sexist. But at the same time, like, you know, they might take it as personally, but their social conditioning would say, well, I need to suck it up. You know, like, could you see Wes being all like, oh, you told me we were best pals, I'm never going to vote for you, show me your fake teeth. That was a terrible Wes impression.
Well, and that's the thing is, I don't think, and obviously he's gone now, but John Rocker is never going to be like, oh, I thought we were buddies, how could you do that to me? You know, he'd be like, whatever. Like, he's going to always shrug it off. And I'm thinking probably you're right in that someone like Wes is probably going to do the exact same thing. Like, oh, man, that sucks, but oh well. But
then, like, and to go back so that, you know, I'm not just like, women be having emotions. When they watch the show, they could pull, like, a Lex or Grant and just never talk to him again, right?
That's
like,
very true.
Like, men have been pissy about this stuff, but in the moment, like, you know, Grant voted for Rob. Although I guess he didn't know what was happening. So, but to your point, it could be an issue. You form really close social bonds, but you have to make sure they're not too close. It's just part of the dance of Survivor. I mean, this is why Brian Heideck only won by one vote. Is a lot of those people felt personally betrayed.
Yep. Well, you mentioned Josh and Keith on Exile.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on this, because you wanted to discuss this.
Yeah, it was good. It was a nice kind of little pairing, but again, it's like Keith, he keeps drawing us in and then pushing us back out, because I was never one that was really on board with, that Rudy, he's so cute with his latent homophobia, old people are funny. And like, on one degree, yes, generations are different, and it is a positive that they can overcome them. And I think that was a lot what was happening with Keith. But I could just do without that reflexive, but I ain't gay, that always comes with it. Hopefully Keith won't become like Rudy, where like 15 years later he's still like, that queer I spent that time on that island with. And then like waiting for people to laugh, and some people still laugh, and more people are like, ugh, that was funny 12 years ago, but now.
And I wonder too, because the way you mentioned this conversation to me was that you wanted to know if the Keith and Josh thing is better or worse than the Rudy and Rich thing. And I was curious what you actually remember of Rudy's interactions with Richard, because all I really remember, and I tried to look for more evidence otherwise, all I really remember is he calls him queer, or the homosexual, which is actually a little funnier. But he's never disrespectful. If anything, he's actually very deferential to Rich. He's like, this guy's a great leader. I don't know why, people aren't respecting him more, and blah, blah, blah. I don't think Rudy was very hateful. I think he was pretty pragmatic about it. Like, he's probably homophobic in the sense that he's scared about gay sexuality. But old people are frightened by a lot of things they don't understand.
It's true. I don't understand these newfangled computers.
Exactly.
That's a good point. And I think actually you see this a lot with a lot of people that have these feelings. On a one-to-one level, the people they meet, they like and all of that, but they still have these weird worldviews that takes a group of people and judges them a certain way. And that could be what was happening kind of with Keith, is that, and it could just be social pressures. In the fire hall in Louisiana, he can't be as
exactly
evolved. So, and I always feel like that's part of what it was. Like, he had to throw in that second part. Like, I ain't gonna cuddle with him,
right.
But he meets somebody and he's perfectly cordial and accepts them as a person. These are good things.
Yeah, and I think Rudy actually voiced the exact thing that you just mentioned, which was he was saying, like, I had to make it clear to all my Navy buddies watching that I didn't approve. But, actions speak louder than words, and he was certainly working well with Rich and was very nice to him.
Yeah, and my feelings on Rudy were always kind of, it was encouraging that he was that way with Rich. But I just never, and this is just part of me, I never found it as funny and adorable as some people tend to find it, partially because I'm just not big on infantilizing the elderly. But in total, I liked the scene with Josh and Keith, and it helped salvage Exile Island for this week, which is, with every passing week, proving to be just marginally better than Redemption Alley.
Yeah. I think Keith probably had basically the same issue that Rudy did, where the whole openly gay man is a pretty foreign concept to him where he's from. I mean, gays probably aren't a foreign concept to him because, newsflash, they exist in lots of places.
Yes.
But the openly gay guy thing is probably something that he's like, whoa, this is something I haven't experienced before. So, I mean, given that, I don't think he handled it all that poorly.
Oh, no, I don't think it was poorly at all. And, like, yeah, him and Josh got along swimmingly. Just, yeah. Those little moments of, you better not be gay with me. Those just induce eye rolls for me.
Totally unnecessary. And then plus, like, come on, look at Josh and look at you, buddy. like, I think Josh can pull better than you.
That guy has all the abs, man.
Well, and not only that, but look at the partner that Josh brought. I think Reed's got something on you, buddy.
You're not in Josh's league.
Right.
But with all that said, Keith is still easily one of my 5 favorite people on this season. Probably higher than that.
That is a low bar, but I agree with you.
I look forward to more Keith. And I think it won't be unreasonable to assume that this is not his last trip to Exile Island.
Probably not. So, speaking of Keith, let's talk about his tribe, though, because we don't really know what's going on at that tribe.
Hardly
what are
at
your
all.
guesses?
Yeah, I think we were hoping what would happen is they would have to vote somebody out this week so we could get a sense of what's going on there. We didn't get that, and now I'm starting to wonder if we will. So let's just screw it. Let's just try and figure it out anyway with just wild speculation and guesses.
Oh, we're so good at wild speculation.
Hey, I've been great with my predictions so far. So the first question is, who's in charge? What's the driving force? I think Jeremy is pretty clearly in charge.
Yeah, from what we've seen, it looks like Jeremy certainly is. Do you think he's got a number 2? Not a poop. He's not Bob Dog.
From this episode, obviously, we didn't get anything. Like it was him kind of holding court and everybody but Julie surrounding him. But I do think Kelly's his number 2. And I think as invisible as she's been, part of that is because there's been no reason. She's not running opposed to the few things that they're showing, and she's not really out in front. And I think that's because she's securely with him. Now, to the degree of power she has, who knows? But that's who I think. What do you think?
I think there's 3 people that I can identify as, and this is speculation, of course, as fodder on his tribe. I think John, Reed, and Julie are definitely fodder. They're on the outs. Like, I don't think he's very aligned with them. I do think, and I think he sort of expressed it in the preview even, or as maybe it was in this episode, I can't remember, that he's already looking at Drew, or Drewshbag as I like to call him, as a goat. But I think he's also getting the sense that, like, all right, if my tribe turns on me because I try to keep him, I'll just swap in Keith. So I think the 5th wheel spot kind of falls to either Drew or Keith. And then everybody else, is fodder. Or it's him, the women minus Julie, and then Drew or Keith.
Yeah, I think Reed actually might be in there, and it might help explain his complete invisibility. Like, Kelly has been a shining star compared to Reed. Oh, or maybe they're just equal, and she's blonde. Because he's not, we don't get anything with him and, Drew and John and their wacky adventures, right? So that just makes me think that when it's time to talk strategy, which hasn't been often, I suspect they're one of those tribes that's like, okay, we've got our little thing, we don't need to talk about it much until tribal council is along us. But I think he's probably there nodding along silently. Unless I think it's probably Jeremy, Kelly, Natalie. Those 3, I think, for sure. I think that is the core alliance. With, Jeremy as leader, Kelly probably as the sounding board, and Natalie, again, is like the wild card,
Wild card!
Exactly.
So you put Missy in that group or no?
I think Missy is, but what was interesting to me about this episode is I don't think she's fully on board. Because you saw her leave the little John Rocker hatred club to go comfort Julie. So I think Missy probably has her own agendas, which is positive, that's a good thing. And I think those include Julie. And that isn't a big stretch. They are closer to each other in age, I would suspect. So they probably are in camp life, the two that are more likely or to talk and pal around with each other. The interesting part for me is Julie, who I think you're not wrong in saying she's on the out, but I don't know how far out she is. I think at the beginning of this episode, coming off of the Heroes duel thing, she was all the way out, right? But I think maybe with John gone, she can come back in. Like, I think people like her. We saw last week her comforting Natalie. We saw her placating the two young douche bros. So I think she could do well now.
I think it's probably sort of what you mentioned. I don't know that that's the core three. I don't know that it's Jeremy and Kelly and Natalie. But assuming that it is, I'm sure those people are flexible on who the other two are going to be.
Yeah, and it's whoever pulls out. But Keith, I don't think is solidly in. I think he definitely has a spot at the table. He definitely could be. But what was interesting is his reaction to the idol clue. And he didn't seem particularly thrilled with the idea that Jeremy might already have it. And he seemed like he needed to do his own thing. Which, again, is a positive for him as a player. He shouldn't be like, ooh, strongest guy on my tribe has this alliance. But it didn't seem kind of like, okay, I'm good. My alliance is solid.
Yeah, and do you think Jeremy has the idol already?
I do. It's just hard for me to believe that John Rocker found it that easy and Jeremy didn't. Like, the only way he doesn't is if Jeremy just hasn't had the opportunity socially to just go off and get it. Obviously, John...
I mean, it's by the well.
Yeah.
I think he's had chances.
Yeah,
he's got it.
I suspect he's gotten it, and it's not like they're hiding it from us, like they'll just spring it one day that Jeremy has an idol. It's more that it wasn't in tonight's story, so they just didn't show that footage. And they'll show that footage when they need to.
Right.
And suddenly, like, Jeremy's beard will be less developed.
Exactly. Well, no, we've learned with Tony, they'll just CGI some stuff in.
Apparently, they literally do that. They will change colors of buffs. And it wasn't just from what Tony told us. I've heard from I've heard since then that, like, they have that technology.
Well, this makes me think that the CGI Brett thing from Samoa is totally real.
That's right. Like, he was there. They just took him out.
Brett didn't exist.
So, yeah, I think that's what's going on in Blue, is that those three are the core. I think, as you say, there's two spots up for grab. Like, I think it might be a bit of an onion right now, because they haven't been forced to form battle lines. But I think, yes, Jeremy would like Drew to be his GOAT, but he's not going to be. We already saw the inklings of it. Jeremy is not going to expel the game capital it would require to keep Drew around. And I think... I'm getting the sense, not just from what we saw, but also from hidden scenes from last week, that it will require a lot. People do not think highly of Drew. No. So I think he's actually at the very bottom. I think John is somebody that they don't have plans to do things with, but they also don't have plans to remove. Like, he's harmless, he's fine. But he doesn't get to sit at the big kids' table.
Yeah, and our friend Nearly Nina made this point, and both of us like this. Is Jeremy the only guy who has intentionally aligned with women and not in like a patronizing way?
Yeah, not in his dumb girls club, or these are people I can easily manipulate.
Or like Boston Rob taking the basically teenage girl and being like, she won't make any plans of her own.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think the answer is either yes, completely, or at the very least a qualified first heterosexual male.
Right. Because my first thought was like, no, I think Todd fits this.
Yeah.
So the qualifier then still works, because obviously Todd does not qualify as the heterosexual male unless there's been some developments I'm not aware of. But it is kind of the Todd strategy, which is interesting, because I don't think we've seen that from a straight guy before. But of course, we won't know for sure until we start seeing more of the blue camp. Though.
Right, and we also don't want to suggest that, Todd was just one of the girls or anything. That's a mistake. But it's more that for somebody like Todd, and it's not just that he wasn't hetero, he was a tiny little boy. He can't just bro it out and try to lead that way. Jeremy would have that option. If he, and in this season in particular, there was 5 guys to 4 girls. Like, he could have just done that. But he's recognized that this is the better path for him. And I think that he might not be wrong, because alphas always try to team up with other alphas, and it usually flames out at a certain point, right?
Yes, because there can only be one alpha. That's kind of the definition.
By definition, exactly. So, I mean, if you happen to have some other betas, great. Like if you're Tom Westman and everyone in your presence is a beta to a certain degree. But yeah, so he's like, I don't need to deal with that stuff. I am a happily married man with my wife over there, so I don't have to worry about the other things that could complicate relationships with women.
Right.
because he's not 20 years old and in heat like some of them are. He probably also took a quick look at what he had to work with. It's like, not Drew and John.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If it works for him, it could be an interesting strategy to go forward. Because, yes, we've seen the sexual divide. Let's find the all-girl alliance. Let's have the 4 bros or the 3 musketeers and all that. But it's like, how about instead you just ignore that part and find people that mesh well with you?
Yeah, pick the best allies for you.
Yes.
So let's get to some 0% Club talk, because I got some additions this week. What about you?
I have an addition.
Okay.
So, we were right about John Rocker. Yay!
Yep. Hooray.
And then last week I said Baylor as well, and I'm still good with that. To your point, she could be following a path that would lead her a long time. I don't think any of those paths lead her to victory.
Right. It could steer her right into the number 2 spot, but I don't think it's going number 1.
That's right. She could sit next to Josh while he wins Survivor.
Right.
So who do you got?
Okay. This one's easy. Droosh.
Yes, and that is who I got. And honestly, before
bag.
the episode even started, just based on the hidden scenes on CBS.com, I was like, oh, this guy's got a 0% chance of winning. Like, if you just listen to the way people talk about him, they are never going to vote for him. Like, he'll never be able to convince people. He's stupid. He's very, very stupid. He is lazy. And look, we've had a stupid winner. But that guy was likable. Like, when people talked about Fabio, it was with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
When they talk about Drew, they can't hide their annoyance.
Yeah, basically, you don't get the Drew edit and then win this game.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Drew's in. 0%.
I agree.
Not winning. I'm very tempted by Baylor. I'm still going to hold off. Because I'm like 95% with you that the best she can do is number 2 now. Mm-hmm. But I'm also tempted by Alec because I don't think he's going to be that dramatically different than Drew. I think Drew is sort of the alpha douche, but, that leaves Alec as the beta douche.
Yeah, I think that's totally accurate. He's totally the little brother. And God, is he stupid. Like, just...
Yes.
Like, you see it when he talks. It's just...
we didn't even mention the evidence of his stupidity. He's sitting there talking to Wes, and he's like, oh, man, but what if Rocker plays his idol? Who cares? If he plays the idol, Baylor goes home. How does it hurt you in any way?
It would be awkward back at camp, but that's about it, right? But then it's like he doesn't have an idol, and you vote him out next time. Just everything seems to be just a little bit harder for Alec to figure out. The reason why I'm not ready to put him in is, well, A, I just kind of forgot about him. And 2,
understandable.
He might still be likable. Maybe he's Fabio. Like, I can rule Drew out because nobody likes him as well as him being incredibly stupid. Maybe if Alex gets into some kind of final, hell, with his brother, then maybe. But I support your induction. I'm not inducting him just yet.
Yeah, and what's funny is that if we're looking for a Fabio, these 2 are the obvious candidates. It might be John.
Yeah.
John might be the lovable dummy Fabio.
Yeah, Lug, he went to college, but yeah. We don't know if he went to class.
He went to American college, Andy.
Yes. He seems nice enough. He seems like, he's a frat boy, right?
Yes.
I don't think he's like, a date rapey frat boy or anything, but yeah, he's a guy who probably, has laughs at stupid things and is very uncomplicated. I'm okay with him, but yeah, he could be Fabio.
He is a stereotypical jock.
That's very much so.
And speaking of jocks, you have a question that you wanted to ask here. I'm really good at the transitions this week. I'm on fire.
So last season, in honor of Cliff Robinson, we tried to play a little game of what other NBA star would be a good induction to Survivor. Obviously, we have a stunt cast athlete this season, but we got to go the other way. Instead of what other former athlete we'd like to see, it's like, who would we want to see worse? Or, like, who would be worse than John Rocker? Could Survivor do worse than John Rocker in terms of bringing in a former athlete?
Yes.
And one qualification to this to make it a more fun discussion is we're going to avoid the criminals.
He made it. He made it a little more difficult because obviously there was a bunch of easy answers there.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about Aaron Hernandez, Ray Rice, Oscar Pistorius, OJ, or anything like that. Like just bad behavior. Because John Rocker for all we have heard, he's not criminal.
Well, unless taking steroids is criminal.
And I gotta say, like, it's hard to beat John Rocker, and that because he's not even that accomplished, right? It's like he's basically only known for this. But is there could they do worse than John Rocker or on par? So who do you got?
Okay, so my first one, I don't know if it's too obscure or not. Richie Incognito.
Oh, I didn't write it down, but I had Richie Incognito in my head earlier today. So
okay,
yes.
So Richie Incognito, for those who don't know, was the Dolphins player last year who was basically the ringleader of hazing this rookie. Got this guy to quit his $1 million football playing job. The guy was like, basically, yeah, no, screw this. I'm not even coming to work. I can't stand this guy. I'm done. But I feel like that's maybe a little too obscure, so I got some other ones for you. You tell me what you think.
I would say that that's actually, I can't believe I forgot about him. I think he might be the answer, and you'd say it's obscure. It's like, well, is he that much more or less obscure than John Rocker? Except that John Rocker said his comments in a more, in a less saturated media environment, like back when Sports Illustrated was a thing. Like now, it's like, do they still print Sports Illustrated? I know they have a swimsuit issue, but, because they talk about it, but I didn't even look at that, because who cares about magazines? Yeah. But, Incognito was everywhere, right? And it's the same deal. He's not that accomplished an athlete, and he's basically known for being like a jerk. In fact, the only reason why I didn't look at Incognito is like, well, is he still former? But he doesn't have a gig right now, so he would qualify. And yeah, it'd be like resurrecting him 5 years from now. It's like Richie Incognito, and then like the only thing they could talk about other than, yeah, he had a job that paid him to play sports, was that he was a tremendous asshole.
Yes. So the former thing I somehow totally ignored for the next name on my list, which was Riley Cooper. Because you could say that he's roughly on the level of John Rocker. He got caught saying some things on camera. Google it, people. I'm not going to recount it here.
The weirdest part about it is where he said it. Like, was that a big deal at a Kenny Chesney concert? I don't know.
Yeah, so sticking with former then. So I got two other ones.
But to your favor, if we're talking 2 years down the road, former is very likely to apply to Riley Cooper. Like, he did all right last year because, the Eagles faced some injuries, and I think he caught like 12 touchdowns, but I think he's now slid to like fourth on the depth chart. So we might be talking about him as former pretty soon.
So many sports haters are just like, oh, God, shut up, guys. So you give one, because I still have a couple left that I can give.
Yeah, so I went to baseball as well, and I guess this is a little obscure. But again, John Rocker is not that famous, so it's actually kind of surprising that this many people were able to pick him out. Carl Everett was an outfielder for a while. He seemed like a fun, quirky character until he gave an interview. Why do athletes do that? And in his interview, he was talking about his, beliefs, his strong religious beliefs, and that dinosaurs can't be real because they weren't in the Bible. And he's just all this crazy stuff, and some of that's like, oh, one eccentric. But then, yes, of course, whenever somebody gets that strong into Bible talk and they believe that, Jesus didn't hang out with dinosaurs, so they can't be real, lots of homophobia. And after a while, he started bouncing from team to team because no matter the fact that he could hit the ball, he was just such a righteous jerk that nobody wanted to deal with him. He would get into fights on the field and all of that. So I think Carl Everett would be worse. The only thing when I was looking him up on Wikipedia today, it does look like he was recently arrested for some domestic violence stuff. So I guess I have to take him off the list.
Disqualified.
I didn't know that about him. So at least his notoriety isn't about his criminality. But yeah.
Well, my only baseball choice, you can cross out the religious part and just keep the jerk. Roger Clemens.
Yep.
Because he was a notorious douchebag that everyone hated. So why not? And he's certainly a bigger name than Rocker ever was. So
he's a huge name. He's bigger than Jeff Kent. He'd be the biggest they have. In terms of like what would be worse, like what would you like to see less? My last thought is a guy who isn't, by all indications, is not a bad guy at all. But wouldn't it suck even more than casting John Rocker if they cast Tim Tebow?
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. That's the last one on my list.
Yes, I'm glad I took it from you.
That would be a casting wet dream. If
they could do it, they'd have to do it. That guy is so popular, despite the fact that he cannot throw footballs very well.
My wife would flip her shit if they cast Tim Tebow. She'd be like, listen, we're watching this live. We're getting a babysitter if we have to. I don't care. She huge Tebow fan, like loves him. So the ratings would skyrocket if they could ever get him. They won't, but people would go nuts.
Because he still thinks he's going to have an NFL career. And whatever, I guess God bless you for having your dreams. But
how amazing would it be to see Probst interacting with Tebow? Like, do you think he'd just basically have to put a book in front of himself the whole time?
I was just about to make that joke.
Because if you thought he had man crushes before, Tim Tebow would just be like the epitome of the Probst man crush.
Yeah, and like we who... I'm going to speak for you, even though I guess we've never talked about this subject, but I think I'm probably on your wavelength. Like, just so tired of Tebow mania. It's not even so much about him, as about his fans, that it would be like holding back vomit through every episode, for every preview that Tim Tebow, Survivor Tebow. But, I mean, damn it, maybe he'd win. Like, even if he...
So, you know what? It's funny. I think it would be pretty cool if they got him. Like, I'm interested to see how he would do, because he is a fairly charismatic guy.
Yeah, people like him.
Yeah.
He can win people. That's basically his strength as a quarterback.
Right.
It's not, throwing the ball, which is the main job of the quarterback.
Yeah.
It's the leadership, intangibles that, certain sports writers love about. So, yeah, I mean, that could play well, and then we just have to choke it down every week. Like, this is South Pacific plus Jesus Matt. Yeah. Because he would not talk about it. That's his whole deal.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking back to South Pacific. Would you rather see Coach doing it or Tim Tebow?
Absolutely Tim Tebow. I mean, the big problem about Coach was, for one, he was thrusting it upon people, and it was so phony. All right, so that's who we got. You don't have any other names?
No, you totally took my last name there.
So Tebow would be, possibly more insufferable just due to the reaction. But I do think Richie Incognito is probably the best one because I think he's actually a good comp for John Rocker. A marginal talent who became a national story strictly due to his behavior. So if any of you have better examples, we'd love to hear them. It's fun. Try to think of somebody worse than John Rocker, and maybe it's not possible. Like, it's possible that John Rocker is the worst they could do, because, again, like, why? Why John Rocker? Like,
don't send us criminals.
No criminals.
That was the rule. No criminals.
That's right. We don't want to hear about Michael Vick or anything. Like, yes, people that have broken the law are worse than John Rocker. We will give you that.
At Purple Rock Pod, tell us who your suggestions are on Twitter.
Yeah, or email us at purplerockpod@gmail.com.
purplerockpodcast@gmail.com.
We should probably get both of it and redirect it.
Yeah, we should have both of those. Right?
All right, so the other thing we're doing all season until that happens is our quitter power rankings. The preview for the season suggests that somebody quits, and we're going to try and figure out who that is before it happens. So we have to pick one person every week, up to 3.
I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to pick more than one. You should just pick one every week.
All right, sure. We've barely been doing more than one anyway, so yeah.
I was going to say, and partly that's because I've been picking one every week, but still.
All right, so it's no longer power rankings, and it's Guess the Quitter.
Sure, which isn't as catchy, but I'll say Missy. I'm back on the Missy quit train this week.
And we'll remind us why you think it's Missy.
Okay. Actually, you might have discussed this one before. I think she's going to, if Baylor does go home, she's going to get all weepy and mothery and she caves. She goes home. I've been predicting guys every week. I think this is the first time I predicted a female, so I'll say Missy this time.
Are you predicting guys because it kind of feels like from the preview that it was somebody talking about a guy?
No, actually, I was picking guys because probability-wise, it just seemed like there were more guys.
That's true.
So,
Because I kind of feel like I am, and I'm not going to go watch that preview again, but it's like, was there a pronoun given? Like, I don't care if he leaves?
No, I think... Sure. No. Well, I think, but that was a different thing. Yeah. I think the quote that we were basing this off of is, "So are you quitting right now?"
Yes.
So I don't think those two quotes are necessarily related.
Yeah, and I have guessed at least one woman in the past that I was totally wrong about. I had Natalie, and that chick ain't quitting.
No.
I think also it's that the tone of the voice. Now, obviously, Probst hates all quitters, but he hates guy quitters so much more.
Yes.
So this week I got Drewshbag.
No.
Yes.
Why is Drewshbag gonna quit? I predicted him last week. I wonder if do you have the same reason?
I feel stronger about him than I felt about any other of these quitter predictions yet. Which again, low bar. It might be similar to you. It's just as the evidence mounts, he feels like a guy that's just so used to being the big man on campus, although he didn't go to college, so never mind that.
He did, but then he dropped out, according to his...
there you go. Well, there you go. The evidence is piling.
He's got a history of quitting.
He's a proven quitter. Yeah, and when it becomes quite apparent that his tribe is not following his lead, which apparently isn't happening next week if you trust the previous, or at least isn't happening at the beginning of there. Maybe he's just like, screw this, I don't need it from a bunch of losers like you, I'm leaving. And also, like, you know, in this episode, we see him like, oh man, not getting food, I wish we didn't give up that fish, and weaving is hard, I'm just going to take a nap in everybody's lap. Like, maybe...
How socially tone deaf are you that you think that's a good idea?
All the socially tone deaf, and this gets to my point. Like, he's just used to people worshiping him in the very small circles he runs in. I don't care that he's been around the world. It's with a bunch of idiot models, right?
Which is crazy because, ladies, right to me if I'm wrong here, I don't think he's that stunningly attractive, you know? I mean, my wife, like, she didn't single him out as the best looking person right away.
Yeah, I mean, I bet, you know, he goes to crappy bars or, you know, hangs out with sorority girls, and he probably does all right for himself, especially because he is blessed with the confidence of the stupid. I don't think he's a very, you know, self-reflective person. I think he probably thinks he is awesome, and that can often do well with certain people. And I think that just feeds into it. I don't think he's going to get that from this. I've seen the interviews, like, from Kelly. She thinks he's grade A putz. You know, I think Natalie has already shown that on camera. That's canon. I doubt Missy or Julie as well has said that to us. I doubt Missy is very won over for him, so he might just be like, yeah, if you guys don't think I'm cool, I don't think you're cool, I don't need to be here.
Later, bro.
Peace. So I think it's true, and that leads us into our final discussion, which is predictions for next week. Before we predict who's going to get voted out, when I correctly do it and you incorrectly do it,
sure.
The previews for next week. They have our friend Drew saying something at the Heroes Arena to Jeff. What do you think that's all about?
Two of our friends, Matt and Craig, who we had on this summer for Survivor Rankings podcasts, they both suggested pieces of this. It looks to them, and it seems likely to me too, that the Blue Tribe finds their original Flint, and they're trying to make a deal with Jeff to trade that original Flint for the stuff that they gave up before. Yeah,
I think there's a good chance it's Flint related. And again, the reason why we're talking about this is it's such a great idea that we kind of hope it happens. Yes. Some people think it might be that they lose it again. They lost the second one.
So that's the other theory, is that it's a lost for a second time.
Yeah, and like why nobody else wanted to bring it up is they didn't want Jeff to yell at them again. But, you know, again, true. Confidence of the stupid. He's going to do it. That would be funny, but funnier, yes, absolutely. We found our other Flint, and what are you going to give it for us? I so hope it's that.
I do too.
I mean, the other thing it could be would be like him quitting just then and there, but I
well, and I've said this before, like, if you're going to give me a season with terrible strategic players who don't know how to play this game, at least make it entertaining, and that would be entertaining.
So, yeah, that's not necessarily our prediction. We read it from there, but it's a great idea, and now fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now, as far as actual predictions, we do have to predict who's going home next week. As always, we predict one from each tribe, because while it seems easy to predict that it's going to be one tribe, we don't know.
Yeah.
So, let's stick with the losers. If the Orange Tribe goes down again, who are they voting out?
Dale.
You gonna go with Jacqueline again? Okay.
Dale.
Just because he was the odd man out of this vote?
Sure. Why not? I'm so terrible at these short-term predictions, I'm not even going to try to justify my guesses.
So yeah, I've obviously, 2-0, that's not a very big sample size. I was also really good at this in Blood versus Water, and I think there's one unifying element to both, is that often the easy vote was the person I've had in Fantasy Survivor. So I've had to construct more elaborate reasons not to just be like, Jacqueline. It's worked out. I think it's Baylor, if they go. I think it's just, we tried it to not be Baylor, but here we are again. And I'm just not sure if Josh could convince Alec and Wes to avoid Baylor again. Now, they might not be hard to convince, but it almost just be like, eh.
All right, let's go other tribe. Who's going home there?
So yeah, I've been on the Julie as first vote out train. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think John Rocker not being there makes her less of a threat. We don't know if it's going to completely follow the Blood versus Water template from before, where, the people who are free agents become stronger and aligned. But a lot of things have followed that earlier Blood versus Water template so far, so who's to say? Like, Brad Culpepper goes off at this spot. Now John Rocker does.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she's safe. So I'm going to go Drew. I think they're tired of his shit, and if they lose, they'll be like, good, go.
Okay. I'll say, Julie. I don't care. I'm going to be wrong, so it's not going to be Julie. If I said your name this week and you're listening, you're safe, Julie and Dale.
Oh, man, you have Dale in your league, so maybe that's what you're doing there.
Exactly.
Yeah, the old reverse jinx. I get it.
Hey, one more quick question. Our friend Will wants to know if we think that there's actually going to be a tribe shuffle this season because it might screw up their whole Exile Island gimmick thing that they've got going with the Hero Arena. What do you think?
I think there will be anyway. They what they want more than stupid hero duels. Like, they probably have a plan B already in place for if it already gets to a point where there aren't that many opposing couples. They've said they have a plan. It could just be now you get to pick who you're going against or something like that.
Right.
More than that, what they want is the opportunity for family members to either align or to vote one another out. And that's not going to happen if they just let it go palau on us, right? So, yeah, I think a shuffle is going to happen. They've kind of been really bad at hiding shuffles and previews of late, so I don't think it's happening next week.
No, I don't think so either. But, yeah, I tend to agree with you, though. We're going to get one. I just don't know when it's going to be.
All right, so that's this week's show. More than anything, I think we're just hoping that next week it's a little better. And again, I'm not writing that off. I think there's some stuff here. I think Josh, as we said, is very good at the social game, and he's doing some things. I think Jeremy's a good character. I think Keith is a good character. And then the other Blues, we just don't know because there hasn't been a reason to be there. So don't lose hope yet. And then for all my Canadian peeps, I just want to say Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Happy Fur Traders Day.
Every day is Fur Traders Day. All right, so I'm not going to do the thing. Just throw in a robot voice of me saying something, and let's get out of here.
No, let's quickly give ways to contact us. At Purple Rock Pod on Twitter, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com, and isn't there... we're purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com for our blog, which we don't really write content for. I'm thinking about writing some, though.
Yeah, you should do that.
We'll see.
And I would like to talk about the superiority of our parliamentary system. Which, by the way, is so much superior to the Republican system. Like, what are you guys doing? Come on.
Also, what's the deal with Aunt Jemima? That's not real syrup. Maple for life, bitches. I am Andy and I was just asking for this.
Theme music.